I said I could link the Dave Chappelle kerfuffle to the aggrieved Somalis. Look, if in fact it was Somali youth who had the July 4th fireworks fight, you're supposed to be one of us now. You're in America. You're supposed to follow the laws, and you have no special provisions that we're supposed to look the other way if you screw up. We have no. You can have every right in the world to be offended, but we have no obligation to accommodate your being aggrieved. So too bleeping bad that you're upset, especially you elders. Why don't you impart to the youth some wisdom? We don't give a bleep if you're offended. If, in fact, Somali youth caused that trouble, then Somali youth are to blame. Why is it that politically identified groups, and the Somalis would be included because they're immigrants, you're not special? There's nothing special about you.
You're just one of us.
Now link it to Chapelle. There's nothing special about the trans crowd that was upset because Dave Chappelle, who speaks his mind, was scheduled to appear at First Avenue. Right. But First Avenue caved because the trans crowd began to pout and weep. Oh, we're going to be offended. This isn't going to be a safe space. Bleep you. There's nothing you have. You don't deserve a safe space more than anybody else. Why are...
Chapelle, who has also in the past, and this is out there, has clearly stated that he is not in full favor of white people. He's gone after white people in his...
He's hilarious.
He's funny. It's
no one's untouchable. Right. And by the way, that's what comedy is supposed to be about.
Exactly.
So let me ask you a question.
Ricky Gervais is delightful because he's not buying this BS.
He did not the Grammys, the
Oscars.
No, it was the other one, the Golden Globes.
Whatever.
And destroyed everybody. Mm-hmm. And it was fantastic.
In the audience.
In the audience.
Yeah.
So, Joe, let me ask you a question. When you do the show and get ripped daily, where's your safe space?
I don't have one. I don't care.
Okay.
Well, that's very mature of you.
Yeah.
Not very woke.
So the people at First Avenue caved, and they asked. We're surmising that they asked the Varsity Theater, "Can you take Chapelle?" And they did, and those shows instantly sold out. And it's just amazing to me that you caved at First Avenue. It's amazing to me that Rainville caved. You have truth to stand on. Stand on it. And then Andrea Jenkins, she's the all-important first. What is she? She's the first transgender black to be on a city council? Because that's really what qualifies you.
Yes.
That's what qualifies you.
First and foremost.
Yeah. Nothing else qualifies you, but that qualifies you.
Yes.
So she's all upset, but she doesn't know where to be because she's black and hip. And so, I really like Dave Chappelle, but... So she's in a whirlwind there. She has no idea what side of the horse she's on, except she had to exhibited obedience to her crowd. She's the first black openly transgender woman elected to public office, and that's why she's important.
You know what? Take that. You know who has
she's the council president.
Do you know who has my respect?
Who?
Susan Kimberly.
Yeah.
Susan Kimberly made the change decades ago and didn't require all this me attention. She changed and went, okay, now I'm in politics.
Yeah, and Susan Kimberly actually knew what she was doing.
Well, that's true, yes.
She had a background in finance.
Yep.
What do you think? These nutcases have a background in anything?
Community activists.
Andrea Jenkins has a background in being a transgender black woman.
Right.
That's her background.
Right.
How does that qualify to run a city?
How about the White House press secretary? Remember, that's how she introduced herself. That's how she introduced herself at her opening press conference.
How about Buttigieg for transportation secretary? No qualifications whatsoever, but he's a gay dad.
That's it. Boom, that's all you need. Go.
Some interesting sidebar items about what happened yesterday with First Avenue and the Varsity. First Avenue is owned by a gal named Dana Frank. Mm-hmm. She's the owner and talent buyer. She has brought to town, Dave Chappelle before.
Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't any sensible booker bring him to town?
It's a big draw.
You'll sell out your building.
And also, she has been fighting her entire career there, working in competition with Live Nation.
Right.
Live Nation is the main booker of the Varsity Theater. So that little aside is interesting. But what I found really, really interesting, and it's public knowledge, and it's out, and you can find it on the internet. Dana identifies herself as a lesbian. She's part of the crowd. She's a lesbian. She has a wife, and she has children, which is awesome and fine. But I just thought all of those little sidebar items were kind of made me go, huh. And so she gave the show to the competition, who she's worked so hard against. It's hard to book against Live Nation. That is a struggle. And she's been successful, and they've picked up other clubs along the way, so she books for other clubs under the First Avenue umbrella.
Chapelle was scheduled to perform at First Avenue Wednesday at 8 p.m., but the venue released a statement just 4 hours before the show. They canceled the event, saying it had been moved to the Varsity Theater. Controversy has surrounded Chapelle's views on transgender people since the release of his Netflix special, Closer, last October. Chapelle declared himself to be a trans exclusionary radical feminist and said that gender is a fact, implying that it is a fixed state rather than a fluid identity. Chapelle's comments stuck with Andrea Jenkins at the time, to the point where she wrote a poem in response called Mistaken Identity, which she has performed several times over the last year, including in June at a festival in Connecticut. Oh, God help us if the taxpayers had to pay for that nutcase to fly to Connecticut.
I think I have the poem. I once was a man from Nantucket.
Nope.
Maybe that wasn't it. Maybe I'm getting my signals crossed.
Jenkins said she'd like to give him a copy in the hopes that it would make clear to him that trans people have played an important role in the black community's push for civil rights. Bleep you! We are 100% integral to the struggle that I think Dave Chappelle is about as well, and I hope that the poem could shed some light into that, she said. Despite her criticism, Jenkins remains a fan of Chapelle. I'm reading from a Fox 9 piece in which Andrea repeatedly says how she's a fan, but again, she's walking both sides of the street here and has to get in the fact that
That's
she's
tough to
worried
do,
about trans people being offended and hurt. Why? You're not special. You don't get to not be hurt.
Right.
We all get to be hurt.
It's funny, there's some comedians who beat up on the audience members, and it's part of their act, and audience members scramble to get those seats in the front row just so they can just get hammered by the guy or gal on stage.
Could Don Rickles survive today?
Oh, no, goodness. No, of course
not a chance.
Because it would come into Rickles' purview that a target for his comedy might be that trans community. And you can see what he would have done with it. He was a gentle soul off the air, as is Chapelle. Right. And he would not have been. Well, you couldn't make Blazing Saddles. You couldn't have Don Rickles. You couldn't be Rodney Dangerfield.
No. Well, think of Eddie Murphy.
And comedy's in danger. Comedy's based on truth of the human condition, which includes being hurt and being joyful and being sad and being happy. And the human condition is what's under attack here. Andrea Jenkins doesn't know it because she's not bright enough. But what she's trying to do is redefine the human condition. The human condition is impenetrable. You get to suffer and you get to be glad.
Right.
That's part of it. And I don't care who you are. You're not special. You have to experience that.
I've been down.
Yes.
I've been, what's the ZZ Top lyric? I've been all around. I don't know. I can't remember.
I finally watched that on vacation, by the way.
What?
The ZZ Top deal.
That little old band from Texas?
What a great,
Isn't that a great documentary?
What a great piece that was.
It's wonderful.
One more piece on Live Nation and the Varsity versus First Avenue. The Varsity capacity is 700. First Avenue, when there's no chairs on the floor, it's anywhere from 1,400 to 1,600. I'm not sure on the exact figure. I would just guess that they probably put chairs on the floor in the main room.
I'm shocked that he could do that. I would think he'd need a bigger venue.
I think he's doing smaller ones.
These were sudden, and weren't these called sudden pop-up appearances?
Yeah,
I don't
pop-up
think they were well
appearances.
advanced.
Okay.
Yep.
And one more thing about your comedy dying bit, because comedians can't do their act, I wanted to throw in there, Chapelle has had people come up on stage and try to beat the hell out of him.
Right.
And that's not something, I'm going to reject that. That's not good.
We're not promoting that?
No,
The downtown
not
Minneapolis, this is
today.
from Ross Rahala in the St. Paul paper. The downtown Minneapolis nightclub, meaning First Avenue, faced an online backlash soon after announcement of the last-minute show on Monday afternoon. In a Twitter thread that has remained active in the time since, First Avenue's social media followers criticized the booking due to a recent series of Chappelle's jokes the LGBT community says are transphobic. So what? It's funny.
I agree.
You Deehee.
Hardy,
Check it out. A number of Twitter users pointed to the code of conduct on First Avenue's website, which is highlighted when fans buy tickets for shows online, that outlines behaviors not welcome to the venue, including acting or speaking in a discriminatory manner or using racist, sexist, ableist, transphobic, homophobic, xenophobic, or other biased language, including intentional misgendering. Oh, you precious sops. First Avenue statement made reference to its code of conduct. The First Avenue team and you have worked hard to make our venues the safest spaces in the country, and we will continue with that mission. You're going to save yourself out of existence because no one's buying this BS. You think the Varsity Theater wasn't full?
Oh,
SRO. And
we believe in diverse voices and the freedom of artistic expression. Well, you believe in it if you approve of it, is what you mean.
Right.
But in honoring that, we lost sight of the impact that would have. We know there are some who will not agree with this decision. I'm among them. You are welcome to send feedback. I just did. I'm not writing you. I think you're phonies. I think you're just absolute phonies. I don't know Dana.
Yeah, by all accounts, she's pretty cool. And, fighting or trying to book against Live Nation, that's
no easy task.
No. But I know people in the biz, and everybody said, yeah, she's all right, She founded a group. Oh, what the hell is it called?
Well, first of all, these communities identify themselves as marginalized, be it Somali youth or the transgender crowd. Once they establish themselves as marginalized, they expect to receive in-kind benefits that would elevate them to a status that other humans do not have to experience. Well, B as in B, S as in S. The human condition is universal, and it doesn't matter what your gender is or what you think your gender is. The human condition is universal. Instead of getting online because you apparently have nothing else to do to complain to First Avenue, why didn't you just decide not to buy a ticket? That's what I would do. That's what normal people do.
Isn't that the protest?
Just don't buy a ticket.
Yeah, it's the ultimate form of protest. I'm not buying a ticket.
It's just utter B as in B, S as in S. You're not special because you have pink hair. That doesn't make you special. You've just chosen to have pink hair. And the hell with it.
Isn't it that thing we go through in our late teens and 20s? We all want to be somebody. We all have these aspirations of I don't know what. And then you grow up and you get married and you have a kid in the house and you realize, I was a dumb kid.
Well, of course.
Yeah. By the way, Dana is the president of NIVA, the National Independent Venue Association.
Well, she's a cave-inner.
A what?
She's a cave-inner.
It's not very punk. I know this is dumb of me to say, but it's not very punk rock, is it?
Absolutely. That's where I keep thinking, Kenny, is my background theme here. Yeah. You've had acts in there that are the foulest human beings in the world, and now you're worried about a comedian.
John, who was the guy that would eat his own on stage? What was his name? He finally died. But yeah,
I don't
Wendy
even want to hear
Williams.
that.
And
I don't remember his name. I know who you mean. Yes.
My kid's band does one of their songs.
Oh, God. You know what they cave to? What they cave to is the mistaken notion that a marginalized, so-called marginalized community deserves special rights. No, they don't. Where's that written? This used to be one hell of a country.